Hi guys and welcome back. Today I thought I would take you through a very easy MAC tutorial to create this very straightforward everyday makeup look. And I thought that we'd have a little bit of a chat. We can also chat about the change in the channel name. I'm going to talk about whether I use filters or not and the other things that I do and don't do on my channel. So now on to the tutorial. I will put links of everything that I've used in the description box down below, and where I've done videos on particular things, I will include links to those videos as well. So starting off, I have applied a little bit of the MAC Studio Fix Mattifying Shine Control Primer, and I just apply a little bit to my T-zone where I do have oils peeking throughout the day. For foundation, I'm going to be going in with the MAC Studio Radiance. I discovered this last year and I really like it because it does give a very natural finish. So I have been erring on the side of less is more with foundations and just using as little as I can get away with. And this one is lovely for that because it does look like skin. It doesn't look like you're wearing a whole ton of makeup. I'm in the shade 3.5C. I did struggle a little bit to get the right shade, and you'll probably struggle as well, so I do recommend going in store and trying it out. But this one is just a lovely, it does have a glowy finish to it. I do have combination skin. I do have a lot of texture on my skin as well, and this doesn't disguise everything. It just kind of makes my skin look a little bit better. So on the subject of texture, the one thing that I did want to say is that I don't use filters in my videos, and that's probably quite obvious because you can see everything on my skin, and that's just one thing I don't do. I've never had a filter. I have got a very old camera. It's a Canon 700D, and I don't even know if those came out with filters. I do know you can buy filters for cameras, but I definitely don't use filters on my camera. So what you see is what you get. I do use a little bit of creative lighting. I have a ring light and two small lights to the side of me, and that's just to create proper lighting so that you can see the colors and you can see the textures of things. So that's where we are with that. I just buffed this in with the foundation brush. Now I'm going in with a little bit of concealer, and I'm using the MAC Studio Fix Everywhere All Over Face Pen. I really like this as a concealer. I find that it's just the right shade. I'm in NC27, and I just use the tiniest amount. So I just apply about that much to my fingers, and then I just dot it on my under eye area. You can use a soft brush to blend this out. I'm going to use my fingers today, and I find that this is just really great to even out the skin tone under the eyes. It does camouflage a little bit of discoloration and that kind of thing. Really is a nice one. I find that doesn't emphasize texture under your eyes. I am 53. I do have texture. There is nothing that is going to erase it or eradicate it completely. But this concealer does quite a good job in terms of that, just to kind of even out the under eye area, and it doesn't suck all the moisture out of your skin throughout the day, which some concealers do. So by the end of the day you are looking quite crepey and dehydrated under the eye area. So I really like this concealer for that, just making sure that it is blended in as well as possible. And now I'm going to go in with a little bit of powder. As I say, because this is quite a dewy foundation, I do need to powder it down, but I'm going in with the MAC Skin Mineralize Skin Finish. I'm in the shade Medium Plus. This is not a mattifying powder, but it just gives you an all over kind of luminous look. So it's not very dewy or very glowy, but it doesn't give you that kind of matte look on the skin, and doesn't necessarily help with oil control, but I find that it is just very smoothing. So taking a little bit of that on a fluffy powder brush, Now talking about the name of my channel, so if you come here quite often, you would have noticed that I have changed the name from Beauty Fortified to 50 Cents. And the reason for that was nothing strategic. I just felt that I wanted a name that kind of represents my life stage, because I am no longer in my 40s. I started my channel 4.5, almost 5 years ago, when things were a little bit different. And so I just wanted something that was more kind of reflective of my life stage. So that's what that's about. And also it will just give me a little bit of license to perhaps post things on other topics that are still age related, but not necessarily beauty. But makeup is still one of my great passions, so that's still going to be very prevalent on the channel. Now I'm going to go on to a little bit of eyeshadow. So I'm using one of my all-time favorites, and this is in the shade Quarry, and it's a kind of taupey, mauvey type shade, and it's beautiful as a crease shade. So I'm going to take an eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going to use this to stamp this into the crease. And I do quite a lot of stamping with my crease shades. I do have hooded lids, and I find if I use a long-haired kind of crease brush, it does tend to skip a little bit, whereas if I just pounce the crease shade into the crease like that, it just makes it a little bit easier, and it just helps with the opacity of the shadow. It's very easy to build it up like this. If you want to apply more, you just pounce a little bit more shadow into the crease. So the other thing, I mean, if you've been here a while, you'll also know that I don't use clickbait on my thumbnails. I don't Photoshop the image on my thumbnails. I don't smooth out my skin. I don't add anything to my thumbnails. I don't even have Photoshop. The most that I'll do to my thumbnails is perhaps correct the color, because I make the thumbnails from PNGs, and often what you see, well, always what you see in video is not what is going to translate into a still image. So I will often just add a little bit of light or brighten the image, but I don't have very slick retouched thumbnails, and what you see again is what you get there. So basically, in a nutshell, I would say that my channel is authentic, but it's also quite old school, and I like it that way. I think that's just how I want it to come across, because, you know, I am 53. We're not trying to be any younger than we are. It's just making the most of ourselves at any age, really. And so I don't really see the point of, you know, enticing you with very photoshopped, slick-looking thumbnails, because you are soon going to see the truth when you click onto the video, and that is just the way it is. So I don't have any desire to retouch and make things look different. So what you see is definitely what you get. Now I'm just taking a fluffy blending brush to blend out those harsh lines and edges on the crease shade, and just to make sure everything is blended. I have gone quite high because I do have hooded lids, so I'm trying to create the illusion of a shadow. Now I'm going to go onto the lid, and again I'm using one of the MAC Classics, and this is in the shade Naked Lunch, and it's a very light shimmery pink shade. I really do like this, especially for summer. It just really does brighten up the lid. So taking a little bit of that on a flat eyeshadow brush, and again just kind of tapping it over the lids. So my lids are a little bit crepey again, so I find that this tapping method is really the best. So I really do love this eyeshadow, and I love MAC. You know, they have generally their makeup is good quality. Some of the things are hit and miss, but they're more hits than there are misses. And for me, it's a known quantity, so I know how these products perform. It's not a guessing game. I've used them over and over again, and better the devil you know. And when I use them, it's like visiting old friends again. You know, we just we chat, we get on with it, and it's like we were never apart. So that's kind of what using MAC is for me. Now I'm going to apply a little bit of the Quarry shade just to the lower lid. So just to keep it light, and I don't like going too dark at all on the lower lid because, again, as I get older, I just find that less is more. So I just want a little bit of definition on the lower lid. And I can amp it up a little bit with a pencil, which is what I'll do today. So I'm going to go in with my MAC. This is the Color Excess Skip the Wait List. It's a lovely bronzy kind of pencil, and it just gives a very, very light hint of definition. Another one of their pencils that I love is in the shade Teddy. That one is very similar to this, and also a really beautiful color. So once I've applied that on the lower lid, I'm going to go in with a pencil brush and just lightly blend that. That just helps to give just a tiny bit of definition. And then what I'm going to do as well is just to emphasize the outer corner. I'm going to use the same pencil, and I'm just going to gently deepen up that outer corner. And what I like about doing that with a pencil is that there's less likelihood that the shadow is going to migrate beyond your upper lid. And I'll tell you now what I mean about that, because I do have hooded lids, and with age they're becoming slightly turned down at the outer corner, and what happens is that my eyeshadow migrates throughout the day, and it can actually emphasize that downturned corner. So I just have to keep an eye on it throughout the day, and if anything has kind of fallen below the outer lid, I've got to clean it up, because otherwise it does just emphasize the fact that my eyes are slightly turned down. Anyway, with this pencil you won't have that problem because it doesn't move. It's a really great one. Now I'm going to apply some mascara. I don't have a MAC mascara. I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal Telescopic Lift. This is one that I discovered towards the end of last year, and I've really been enjoying this. I've really been very, very impressed with its performance. So that's the mascara done, and now I'm going to go on to bronzer. So I'm using the MAC Radiant Light Rosy Skin Finish Bronzer. These also came out last year. So they have radiant ones and they have matte ones, and this one is a radiant one. And I love using it just to contour a little bit on the face, and also just to add a little bit of bronzing effect. It's very pigmented. I am going to blend that in with the blush, but I find that it's just lovely. They do have a lot of different shades for dark skin tones, for light skin tones. It really is a lovely one. I also take a little bit and I just use it to define my jawline. Really is very pretty. You could just use this as a blush as well, without anything else if you wanted to. It does have a lovely texture to it. And now I'm going to go on to blush. This is one that I picked up towards the end of last year, and it is one of the Extra Dimension blushes, and it's called Sweets for My Sweet. So it is rather pink, it is rather bright, but these ones have got a beautiful gleam to them, and while they don't do anything to disguise your pores, they don't necessarily emphasize your pores. So I do have a lot of texture, and that's obviously an issue for me. But I also love wearing glowy blush, so it's kind of a fine line that I have to straddle. But I find that this one is really not bad in terms of, it's not going to emphasize your texture, put it that way. So I take it on my powder brush, because I find that this just helps to diffuse the color slightly. So it's quite a loose, fluffy brush, and it just helps a little bit because this is so bright. And just sweeping it on to the cheek. And if you're using this, you don't necessarily need to use a highlighter. And it is just a beautiful everyday pink. You can really build it up, and you can also blend it out, smooth it out. So it really is lovely. I would recommend these if you're looking for a glowy blush. And they do stay all day as well. They have quite a lot of longevity. So guys, if you have any subjects, any requests on the subject of MAC, let me know if there's anything that you specifically want me to show you. It is a brand that I really love, and we do have access to it in South Africa. It's one of the few, and it really is good for mature skin. I find that by and large the quality of their products are really good, so I would recommend them. So if there's anything you want me to talk about, I will leave links to my MAC, or a link to my MAC playlist down below, where I do tutorials on cool skin tones, neutral skin tones, and warm skin tones using MAC eyeshadows. I also talk about my favorite MAC blushes. So, but if there's anything else that you want me to talk about, please leave me a comment down below. And now we're going on to lips. So I'm going to go in with MAC Soar. It's quite a neutral kind of lip liner. I find it goes with a lot of different pinks. And now I'm going in with another favorite of mine. These all seem to be my favorites, but they really are my favorites. And this is the MAC Luster Sheer Shine Luster Lipstick in the shade Sea Sheer. And the lovely thing about these Luster Glass lipsticks from MAC is that they don't bleed into your lip lines. They're very comfortable on the skin, and I find that because they have a little bit of shine to them, they're also very, very flattering on mature skins. So guys, that is a finished look using some of my favorite MAC products. Just a very easy, everyday makeup look. So let me know what some of your MAC favorites are and what you would use to create an everyday makeup look. I'd love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.